In the quiet town of Shivapur, legend had it that the old Kher house at the end of Chaudhary Lane was cursed. Built over a century ago, it stood dilapidated, its walls blackened by the ravages of time and neglect. Nobody in Shivapur dared to cross its threshold, for it was said that those who did never returned the same. One foggy night, a group of 5 curious teenagers, led by the daring but skeptical Vikram, decided to challenge the urban legend. Armed with nothing but a couple of flashlights and a camera, they pushed open the rusty gate, which groaned ominously under its own weight. As they stepped onto the property, a cold wind swept past, as if the house itself was sighing. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the smell of mold. The walls were lined with tattered portraits that seemed to stare down at them with disdain. "This place doesn't seem haunted, just old and creepy," muttered Anjali, trying to sound braver than she felt, but her voice echoed a bit too sharply off the barren walls. As they ventured deeper, they found a locked door in the basement. After several attempts, Vikram managed to pry it open. Behind it was a small, hidden room that contained nothing but a large, antique mirror standing against the far wall, its surface dusty and cracked. As the group dared each other to look into the mirror, Simran, the youngest, stepped forward. Wiping the dust off with the sleeve of her jacket, she peered into her reflection. The others gathered around, chuckling nervously, until the laughter abruptly stopped. In the dim light, they saw not only their reflections, but the silhouette of another figure standing behind them. They spun around, flashlights darting across the room, but there was no one there. Heart racing, they turned back to the mirror, only to see the figure still looming. It was an old woman, her eyes hollow, her expression twisted in a silent scream. The air grew colder, the edges of the mirror frosting over. Panic set in as the figure in the mirror stretched out her hand towards Simran. Instinctively, they all backed away, stumbling over each other in their haste to leave the room. They raced up the stairs, the sounds of their own heavy breathing and the distant, eerie echo of a woman's wail following them. Once outside, they didn't stop running until they reached the safety of the brightly lit streets of Shivapur. Back under the streetlights, they panted for breath, trying to laugh it off. "It was just our imagination, right?" Simran asked, a quiver in her voice. No one answered. Days turned into weeks, and the incident at the Kher house became a distant memory, often recounted as a ghost story at parties. However, things had changed. Every mirror they looked into seemed to fog up inexplicably. Every reflection bore a subtle hint of someone else present, just out of the corner of their eye. Simran started avoiding mirrors, her nights haunted by dreams of the old woman in the mirror reaching out to her. The rest of the group felt it too, a looming presence, always a whisper in the silence. Determined to end their nightmare, they returned to the Kher house, intent on covering the mirror with a cloth, or breaking it if they had to. As they entered the hidden room again, the mirror was exactly as they had left it. This time, without hesitation, Vikram swung a hammer at the glass. The mirror shattered with a piercing scream that reverberated through the house, louder than the sound of the breaking glass. As the shards hit the ground, so too did the oppressive atmosphere lift, replaced by a sudden, profound silence. They waited, breath held, but nothing happened. Relieved, they left the house, the weight of their fear seemingly lifted. The town of Shivapur slowly forgot about the Kher house again, its stories fading into whispers. But the legend lived on, the broken mirror a silent testament to the night the true horror of the house was unleashed. Yet, in the stillness of the broken glass, if one listened closely, The faint echo of a woman's wail could still be heard, mourning her unbroken curse.